So I'm happy to be here with you, with the two guests of honors we have here with us today, Mr. Matt Crosson from that flown all the way from the United States. He's the president of the AJMA, so that's the American Gear Manufacturing Association. And we have Mr. Dirk Decker, one of our members from VDMA, from the German Association. So we are going to make it quite dynamic. So I will start with a short presentation about the Eurotrans. Then we are going to move on presentation about the AJMA, and then we will try to have some kind of discussion together about how our industry is going and evolving. So the Eurotrans, it was actually founded in France. So it was founded in Paris, and that was in 1968 as le Comité européen des associations de constructeurs d'engrenages et d'éléments de transmission. But it quickly grown into a more European federation, as we have now 8 different members. So we have colleagues from Italy, from Belgium, from France, from Switzerland. They just changed, I can see here, they changed the flags, but colleagues from Finland as well, from the UK, and Germany as well, and the last member to join, and that's where I'm from actually, is the MIB from Turkey. So the 3 different pillars that we have in Eurotrans for those that don't know us or don't interact with us yet. So we're mainly focusing on networking, as we're doing today, on market data statistics, so to give to our members some kind of overview of how is the market, where we are going. And then we work a lot on knowledge, education, training, and sharing the know-how of the different members, so that's how they can grow together from a technological point of view. So a lot of words here, but just to keep it short. So today, Eurotrans is 600 different companies, so that's representing 40 billion euros of turnovers with all the members that we have in Eurotrans, and that's 160,000 employees. So this is really a key part of the European mechanical engineering. So we are, we can solve this, yeah. So we have different members acting with different kind of parts. So this is quite broad what we are representing. So we are representing obviously people dealing with gearboxes, so that's gear drive, transmission systems, but also everything dealing with coupling, bearings, belt, chains, brakes. And then the third part, and the key part actually, is the motors and gear motors as well. So what are the different challenges that we are facing, and we will try to discuss today with Mr. Crosson. So we are facing different challenges within Europe, but also on a world point of view. So we have a lot of digitalization. You all know that, Industry 4.0. We have a lot of different subjects and discussion about the business environment itself. We have a lot of reforms that are made in Europe that we discuss with the member, and we are actually trying to shape that together with them. We have a demography issue as well. Then we have 2 big subjects. We have the decarbonization. So we'll see today how we are working with our different members to go toward a greener mechanical industry. And then the last one is obviously how we can establish and build international added value, how we can get all the companies working together to create more added value. So the different priorities that I've been speaking about in the previous slide, I would say, so sustainability, digitalization, and then different subject about demography. So we will see how we are facing these within Eurotrans, so what we are doing on a daily basis. So the different reforms, what we are going to face in future in Europe. That's important for you as well, because it's impacting the whole global industry of mechanical engineering. So the first point is the Green Deal, as you know. So we speak here about climate neutrality in 2050 for Europe. We speak about transformation of the whole European industry. And then the last subject, but very important, and it's going to impact all the members here, all people attending this exhibition actually, is that we are speaking about the carbon border tax, right? So this is coming very soon, and All the companies, all the members are doing their homework, and that's where we are helping our member to understand how it's going to be applied, why we are doing that, and how they can be ready for the day it's happening. Then we are discussing about digital economy, the European data sovereignty. How can our members protect their data? How they can share their data as well. So we speak about two different subjects. And then, obviously, a key subject in the international context that we are dealing now is the international trade, the relationship between Europe and China, Europe, United States, and the development of new free trade agreements. So there is a small sentence here to say that we have the solution for all the different subjects. So the Drive Technology is a solution provider for a successful future. So we are directly impacted by all of these subjects, but we are also direct actors and architects of these different subjects. So how we promote free trade. So as I said before, we are working with a lot of different European associations. So we make sure that we are all on the same line. We are all discussing and working on the same targets. Then we are discussing with our colleagues from China. And then the last point, and I will be discussing that with our colleagues from the US, but it's the negotiation of all the free trade agreement with our friends from North America. So how do we want to shape the digital transition for the future? So first of all, as an association, we are trying to make sure, and we are discussing with our friends in Brussels, to make sure that we don't go toward what we call over-regulation. So we are the voice of the industry, and we try to make sure that we don't have too much regulation. Regulation should be shaping the path, but it should not be an obstacle on the path. So this is what we are trying to do, and here again, this is a key role of the industry associations, and that's why it's important that all the members are active with us, because we are discussing such kind of subjects that are impacting all of the different members. We are working together to create a framework to allow a new digital business model, right? So we had discussing the law part, but we are also discussing how to exchange the data, how to protect the data, and all these kind of subjects. And then the last one is that we are, trying to develop a technology and digital network, how to exchange more about these different subjects. So, how to make Europe stronger also for our different members. So I will just go back on the different countries that are joining us. So these 8 countries are actually the main members where you have a strong mechanical industry. But I want to add that we are also discussing with other countries, but it's just that they don't have associations. That's why they are not here on the list, but we also have members from Czech Republic, from different countries as well. So what we are doing to make a stronger mechanical industry within Europe. So first, we try to make the home market stronger. We try to have a single voice facing other competitors. We try to develop new and better and easier rules. And then we are discussing this subject, and I think you are all impacted about that, is how to keep the talents, how to train the talents, and how to have a more local but also global supply chain in the same time. So we discuss a lot about that within Europe. We spoke about demography before. So what I mean by demography is the lack of talented workers. So that's actually a key subject and a key point that we are sharing with our colleagues from the AGME here, is how we can first keep the talents and how we can create and support new talents. So for that, we have a specific program, and that's, I will just go slightly further. Where is it? Move, yeah. The slide they went for, yeah. So that's why we have this program here, and that's why we have a very, the slide is just sliding itself, but that's how we have a specific training and education program. So we are organizing 4 or 5 times a year very specific training programs about our industry. So we discuss about grinding, we discuss about product development, we discuss about noise, about vibration. So it's really a highly specific training program that we have for people that are already dealing with this, but also talents that are trying to get into the gear technology as well. So the last few points is that we are very active on an international level. We are going to a lot of different exhibitions, and we're also discussing with different associations. So I'm slowly building up a transition for you, Matt, but these are some few pictures of the different events that we've been doing in the last few years. So we were in Hanover, Messe, a few months ago. We were with our colleagues from the CITOP, from the fluid industry. We also organized the first International Motion and Drive Summit. So that was actually organized in Hanover. So we tried to collect and combine our two different industries. So we had been discussing a lot of different subjects. We had there the president of CITOP, so that's the colleagues that are from the hydraulic side, and we were discussing some of these key subjects. And I want to stop here for a few minutes and to invite you to this kind of events, because I'm sure that all of you sitting here are all either interested in this subject, impacted in this subject, or, and I hope that you are, giving an influence on these different subjects. So the first thing that we've been discussing, and we had a guest of honor there, we had the Dr. Stefan Hack, that is the CEO of Bosch Rexnord. So he gave us some information about how they are trying to give some evolution for their production to have a less CO2 carbon footprint. Then we were discussing with some colleagues from the University of Stuttgart, and that time again, that was about how we can have a future-proof production. So with all the digitalization, how we can adapt the actual tools and the actual mean of production that we have, and how we can transport them into future. So how we can make them more sustainable, how we can make them more productive, and how we can make them more resilient to all the change that we are facing these days. And then a different subject, we had some colleagues from the World Bearing Association that were speaking about a very key and important subject, is the risk for suppliers and customers when it's come to counterfacts. So this is something that we are discussing a lot with our two different associations. It's nice to speak about digitalization, it's nice to speak about low carbon, it's nice to speak about all these fancy subjects. But what is happening when you end up buying a fake product? So you think that you are going to have all of these technical features, but at the end you don't have them. So that's why we are trying to work together with different associations on how we can identify these different counterfact products, how we can make sure that they don't end up in our factories first, how we can make sure that they don't end up in end user hand. So the colleagues from the World Bearing Association made a very nice presentation about their World Bearing check application. So I think you've seen that slowly it's coming, it's happening. So we have these QR codes that are on the bearings. We had specific codes that are implemented on the packaging, and we've been discussing on how we can implement, for example, the blockchain on this different packaging, how we can try to establish some kind of new or different codes to make sure that we don't end up with counterfeit products. Then we had some more discussions about economic situation and different perspective in time of uncertainty. And then the final presentation was from VDMA, but I think that Mr. Dirk will be able to give us some few more words about that. So that was for my side. We will now move on with the second presentation and then go on with a more kind of a discussion. So I give you the pointer now. Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go.
There we go. Good morning, everybody. My name again is Matthew Croson. I'm the president and CEO of the American Gear Manufacturers Association. I want to thank Salim Hafar for inviting me and participating in this event, and congratulate the WIN-EURASIA team for a great event, and also the Bearings World team for another great event earlier this week. I appreciate being here. For everyone to understand, IMAC is a member of the AGMA and an active participant in the US as well as Europe. So it's an honor to be here to represent a global player, as you just outlined. I'm going to take a few minutes just to walk through AGMA's history, some of the programs we offer, and maybe it'll get you interested in some things that we're doing, and also tee you up for some conversations that we might be able to have at the end of the session. So we've been around a long time. AGMA actually started in 1916, so we're 107 years old. We started mainly because the auto industry came to us and said, we need to improve the standard of quality for our gears, and that began the first standards effort for the organization. And that's what we've been known for many, many years. We do about 55 different standards, 34 different information sheets. We have more than 400 people involved in the standards development for the full range of gears and power transmission systems covering every facet imaginable. We have right now 420 members. 300 of them are gear manufacturers, 100 of them are suppliers, machine tool people, forging houses, lubrication companies, and then we have academics. We're very involved with the academic community globally to make sure that the science and the testing that we need to have to support our standards is sound. I have 20 staff members that work for me in Alexandria, Virginia, which is right outside of Washington, D.C., as well as in Elk Grove, Illinois, which is right near Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. We're about $5 million to $6 million in revenue, and I oversee or work with 17 board members representing the full spectrum of industry, as well as more than 40 technical and business committees. So very vibrant, very large group that is actively involved in all the things we're going to talk about. This is our vision. AGMA and its members drive power transmission innovation. It's very important that we are recognizing that the world is not just gears, couplings, fluid power, electric drive anymore. It's all one, power transmission, and you see that throughout the halls here this week. It's a bold vision, something that we think is the future, where industries are starting to come together. As Dirk and I talked earlier, we're seeing international associations collaborating more, some local associations coming together as one, because the customer groups are all coming together as one. And this is where we think the industry is headed. So this vision is going to drive us for the next few years. One of the very most important things we do is advance standards and technology, as I illustrated that earlier. It's the first reason that we were joined and started, and we have over 26 different AGMA standards and technical committees, and we are the Secretary General at TC60 for the ISO standards. So we work very closely with the VDMA and the DIN system, the ISO system, all of the other standards that are out there, as well as AGMA systems ourselves, as we try to support the global industry. One of the most important things we do is bring the industry together once a year for a fall technical meeting and try to bring about 200 engineers to make sure that they have the latest and greatest science, studies, and tests that are available to make sure that we're driving forward with the industry. Another very important tie to the future, and one of our really fundamental value drivers, is education and training. We have more than 24 face-to-face classes a year, starting with just basics of gearing to advanced design for gearboxes, gear sets, all the way to gear failure analysis, which is important, right? Things break, and you have to understand why, so that you can fix the production level or maybe improve the metallurgy so that it's a better system. Very important classes. We train over 1,200 people a year in these classes and generate a lot of advanced degrees because people, what we see happen is kids, students come out of the university with a mechanical engineering degree, and they might have had one class in mechanical engineering. So what we can do is walk with them through the first 10 years of their career by taking different classes through the year and improve their ability to make a good gear. And that, of course, helps the company improve their innovation. We also have started last year a national training center at a local college in Chicago where we have hands-on operator training. So it's one thing to theorize and kind of design a gear, and we have classes for that for the engineers, but you also have to make a gear. That means you have to have trained operators that understand the grinding machines, the finishing machines, the cutting machines, hobbing equipment, how to set it up perfectly, and we improve those abilities for the industry. We also work very closely internationally, and we try to create business connections through the trade missions that we run. We've done ones in Japan, China. We've gone to parts of Europe. Next year, we're going to South America. One of the things I'm doing is coming to new markets for the United States, like Turkey, and also India, to try to make connections and bridges. Some companies want to import or export into the United States. We can help you. Some companies are looking for alternative suppliers. We'll help build the bridge back to Turkey to improve the partnerships that are global. We also have an annual meeting that brings together 300 CEOs and top leaders to talk about macro trends that are 5 to 10 years away. That way, the CEO can get out of their business, get away from the day-to-day operations that they have to manage, and think collectively with the CEOs together on where things are going. And then they try to navigate the ship, if you will, to make things are driving forward. We inspire innovation, and by that, we focus on emerging technology. Right now, we're tracking 4 different areas that are important. One is additive manufacturing. One is the Internet of the Future, the Internet of Things. We're looking at robotics, and we're also looking at new alloys, new metals, and new collaborations with systems coming together. It's an important part of the future, and if we think a technology can disrupt or support our industry, we want to look at it and make sure that our members are aware of it and managing their business to the point where they can actually leverage the technology in a future date. We also supply market intelligence or business intelligence. We have a gear market report. We have statistical reports for benchmarking and ratios development. We have an understanding of global markets. And we also have an industry economic outlook conference that we partner with the National Fluid Power Association. So we try our very best to keep our members aware of the data that is impacting them so that they can understand their business. Finally, near final, we deliver leads. One of the things that we all are concerned about is cash flow and finding new customers. So we do that directly with magazines, websites, and our trade show, the MPT Expo, that happens every other year in the United States. So we are actively engaged with the downstream community. We have 23,000 subscribers to our magazines. We get 4,000 attendees to our trade show. We just launched a new magazine in India. We have offices in Bangalore because we feel India is a growing market. But the idea here is to do 2 things: share information, but also deliver leads and make sure that the companies are healthy financially by connecting the industry together. So that's what AGMA is in a nutshell. Large organization doing many, many things primarily in an engineering manner and connecting the industry for information and then also connecting them to their customers. Look forward to talking a little bit more in a dynamic. I hope you have some questions for us. Right now, I'll turn it over to Dirk Decker, who leads up the team at VDMA under the drivetrain technology section. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, all right. So thank you very much for this presentation. So as I said at the beginning, I want to make the second half of this presentation more some kind of discussion to make it a bit more interactive. As I was watching the audience and people that are for whom AGMA is quite new, I prepared some few questions, and I would like you to come back on this subject, and the same for Dirk. How does the US and Germany face this subject about having skilled workers? I know that you have a training center, but maybe if you could come back on this subject just for a few minutes. How do you train the workers? What's the solution that you provided for the workforce?
Thanks, Salim. There's check. There we go. So there's 2 sides of that problem, right? One is finding workers, convincing people that are either coming out of school or coming out of high school to agree that working for our industry is an exciting opportunity. And we created 2 years ago something we call a Get Into Gears campaign. It's a promotion campaign. It consists of advertising, pamphlets, videos, and posters, PowerPoint presentations that we developed that had about 15 different points about how exciting our industry is, that you're going to work on exciting projects, that the pay is good, that the benefits are good, that it's a safe environment. And we talked in general about how great our industry is and how good it should be for you. And what that is able to do is the member was able to grab that, add their own logo, add their own information about their own company, and then go out and promote at local job fairs, local technical communities, and also just participate in any place where students and potential employees are. And it was very successful. We ended up having about 175 companies download the information, make it their own, and then go out to the community, their local community, and find workers. We also work very closely with an organization called the National Association of Manufacturers, which is a large organization. They work closely with the Army, they work closely with other technical schools across the country, and they promote the idea broadly of manufacturing. And then we come in and say, yes, there's manufacturing, but then there's our kind of manufacturing, and we try to get our fair share of employees. So that's what we do to try to help the industry. We've created a platform that they can leverage for themselves, because at the end of the day, the company has to convince the individual to work. We can't. So what we try to do is elevate the role, give them some tools to entice them, and then they have to step forward and actually do the work. The second thing we do is a lot easier, and that is we have about a 60-year track record of training. So our 24 different classes that we offer, some of them are face-to-face, some of them are online, some of them are in different languages. And as I said, they run the full gamut of design engineering, helical gear creation, bevel gear creation, working for the different types of how you cut a gear, grind a gear, how you hob a gear. Again, right on up to gear failure analysis, which is our #1 class. It's amazing. Every year, year after year, twice a year, we run that class and sell it out, because that is one of the fundamental things that you have to understand, that eventually the gear that you produce will break, either through lubrication problems or the heat or the humidity or some kind of circumstance, that a variability that you don't understand, that you need to research and really understand as you go in, because it can be a real critical issue if you constantly have to fix it. It's not good for your customer, it's not good for you, and so we really fix and focus on that. And the reason we do that is because out of the association, it's a lot less expensive for a company to join us and participate in these programs rather than having to create their own programs across 400 different companies. We're able to take the fundamentals and the basics of the class, give them and train them up, and that way all of our member companies don't have to do it themselves. And as I said, I tried to illustrate that we think our programs are so sound that the first 10 years of an engineer's gear world, we can walk side by side with them and kind of grow with them through more advanced and increasingly more advanced classes, to the point where after they've taken about 7, 8 of them, they're hireable anywhere. So that's our approach.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So if I understand well, that's a whole ecosystem. So you say that companies should be dynamic, they should be attractive, but also association is helping to give a deeper technical training, and that you're really focusing on that.
You know, Salim, it's a small thing in a vision statement. A lot of times it gets lost in the world, right? What's a vision statement, right? But our vision statement says very clearly, AGMA and its members drive power transmission. So in every circumstance that we deliver value, it's a partnership. You know, we have to work together. Some things we can do, some things the member has to step up and do. I can't create a standard. The industry has to. But I can create a platform that allows it to be fair, consensus-driven, and make sure that we get proper science backing it up. That's our role. And whether it's education, global economics, trade, we can collect the industry, develop consensus, and then voice that to the important people that need to understand it, and that's kind of our role.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So we have another good example on how to deal with the training, skill force, and I think the example of Germany will be interesting for us to analyze somehow. So maybe, Mr. Dirk, you can give us some few words. You can start with a short presentation on the VDMA if you want, and then bounce on that, yeah.
Yeah, also from me, good afternoon. So I'm on the one hand working for the sector committee, but in my daily business I work for the VDMA. The structure is a little bit different. We are a roof organization with around about 38 independent associations. And as Salim and Matt told you, we think that to convince young talents, it's really a competitiveness factor for the future, especially if you are thinking about economics like Asia or even Turkey. Turkey is here in Europe the only country which has a good relationship between older and younger people. The most other countries in Europe didn't have that. And so we have still a fight for young talents, young engineers, to convince them, first of all, for mechanical engineering, and then second, for supplier industry like drive technology. So in VDMA, we focus that as one of the key points for the future. That is also the reason why it's necessary to have this kind of exchange, to learn from each other. Then each education system in Europe is quite different. Yeah, they had different systems how to train young people. And so we had a strategy developed which has, I would say, 3 pillars. First of all, we go into primary schools. We discuss with parents to convince them that mechanical engineering is not something old-fashioned industry. It's a very modern industry. It's a solution provider. So to bring the parents an idea that their children has there a really modern industry, to convince them to learn a job in this industry. The second step is for the shop floor, that we try to address also the shop floor with training programs supported by our members, or like you do in such training courses. And the third one is how to convince young engineers to work in our industry, not go to the aerospace industry, to the automotive industry, because supplier industry is in the first opinion for the most young people, if the father is not working in this industry, not the first choice, honestly speaking. And that is really something where we're thinking about how we can do marketing, how we can convince young people to start in our industry. This is a marketing topic, no question, but this is also a topic where we had to think, how do we address our industry to young people? Young people communicate in another way, you know, handies, let me say, tools like, oh please Matthew, you know that better like me. What do we have?
Facebook, LinkedIn.
Facebook, LinkedIn, thank you. WhatsApp. How we can address our industry and these special tools, because this is the way how younger people communicate even on their private life. And here we had to find some new solution. There was a test from one of our members during Hanover Fair, and I was a little bit critical in the beginning. They, for example, decided to make the whole booth, like you see here, from different countries, with their young staff. So the not final trained engineers, people from the shop floor, developed the booth. They are the whole day in Hanover, and there was no experienced engineer. Even the product was very, how to say, explainable. It was not an easy product. And they are very successful with that. And it was a big motivation for the people in the company. But it was also a big surprise for the younger visitors that they say, oh, look, on this booth are only young guys who explain me a very difficult technology. So I think we have to renew our thinking, how to promote our industry.
Yeah.
And that is the reason why we are on that shows like here. We are sitting here together. We try to learn from each other. Even in this Europe, all the countries do their education in different ways. And maybe to explain a little bit Eurotrans. So Matthew, and this is not negative, has a national association. Eurotrans is not an association. In Eurotrans, together with Salem, we bring together existing association and their members and try to learn from each other. Yeah, we have to understand the culture, we have to understand how it works, and that is the reason why we build such a network, and then to give our members help and guidance how they can be more successful, especially in that topic, convince young talents to work for our industry. I think it's a big challenge for the next 10, 15 years.
Thank you, and I want to bounce on this subject of education. I think there is a third part, is also the evolution of technology that it directly impacted universities. I think for the one that are more experienced than me, obviously, if you remember before universities, gears, they were a key program. They used to teach gears in mechanical classes for hours and hours, and all over Europe now, it became less and less and less and less. So there is also this lack of teaching within the universities. And that's how, and that's why I would say in Eurotrans, we try to give a highly technical training to complete this university training. The trainings that we give, and I think that's the same for AGMA, is to complete the basic mechanical engineering training that they have and make sure that these workers, these engineers will understand what they are dealing with. Because we're trying to make the, as you say cheers for gears, gears sexy again and everything. So we try to make it more interesting so engineers go inside this box and they try to understand. And that's why I think this is important for our members as well to develop more and more partnership with universities. They should go there, they should provide engineers to train people, they should make more and more intervention. And that's the third key part to make this, to face this workshop, this workforce issue that we have. And this is how we can create, and this is how we can encourage new talents. I want to come back to the US as you are a key guest for us here today, and a lot of our members are trying to enter the US market. How do you see the power transmission and mechanical engineering market in the US in general? I know that there is a lot of different acquisitions happening, a lot of different change. So how do you see, if you could give us an overview, how do you see the next years? How do you see the current situation? It's not an easy question, but
financially, like
I would say globally, the different trends, the different acquisitions happening. So it's an overview for us.
Okay. Yeah. So got lots of different ways to go at that. The United States is has always been a very dynamic market, very large market. It spreads the entirety of the full spectrum of solution sets, and so that's always been an opportunity. And since we are a free trade country, open economic system, it attracts a lot of folks that are globally minded. Right now is actually there's two things I'll say. Right now, I would say generally, it's a very positive environment. Post-COVID, okay, COVID was challenging for anybody importing in the United States. And so, ports were closed, situations with supply chains were challenges. Obviously, China was shutting down different cities, the globe doing that. It was a real problem. But if you take that away for a second, generally, about 20% of the market, it's about a $5.5 billion market for gears alone, not fluid power, not couplings, not other parts, and not automotive. It would probably be about 20 billion if we added automotive. But for just industrial, mining, construction, agriculture, all of those other sectors, it's about $5.5 billion, with about $2 billion coming from outside the United States. Germany is a large importer. Italy is one of our largest importers. China, Japan, large importers. A lot of the players like SEW Eurodrive, Bonfilioli, Sumitomo, IMAC Reduction, they look at the United States as an opportunity. And so that's a positive. And I would suggest that if you're truly looking to get involved in the U.S., you ultimately need a U.S. presence. It can be a sales office. It can only be a support office, right, where you're supporting anybody that's local. But you need the face-to-face interaction. It's a highly engineered product. It needs a lot of discussion and dialogue at the pre-sale opportunity. And then once you're sold into a customer, there is a requirement that you're servicing and supporting them. Whether you're a distributor or a direct manufacturer, it's important to have a local presence. And so it's not so simple of promote yourself and then start to ship product. It's still a face-to-face business, highly engineered. You can share information and get things done, but you still need to have a physical presence, even if it's small. Now, I say all these positive things, but I also recognize, and we've been talking about it this week, in my 30 years of being involved in the association community, with the ups and downs of the economics and the housing crisis or the global economic crisis we had in 2010, the Y2K issue, right? All of these little things that have come up over the year are nothing compared to what I see as the most challenging global geopolitical environment we've ever seen. It's all potential. Nothing's completely blown up yet, except in Ukraine, right? But with Russia, Ukraine, China and the South Sea, right? You have Taiwan, and the 80% of the semiconductors in the world produce there. You know, if that gets shut down, we all shut down, like in a heartbeat. You have the nationalization of certain countries, and the globalization nationalization. You know, it's this weird dynamic of needing and requiring a lot of détente. And it's extremely disappointing that it's in the hands of politicians. And the reality is that everyone in this room, everybody at this trade show, business is what drives the value for ourselves, for our families, for our communities. It drives our taxes, which funds all of the things that we'd like to do as cultures, as countries. And you know, right now, I'm a little concerned, frankly, of being driven by political figures that don't understand sustainability truly. They don't understand that it's simple to say, make all the cars electronic or EV. But they don't understand how much earth has to be moved to produce that, and that they have to then use more coal to produce the electricity. For the United States, which is making $18 million new cars a year, right? Brand new car sales. Only about 1 million are EV. Now, if you make them all EV, I can't even put my head around the mathematics on how much titanium, cadmium, nickel, which by the way, aren't in the United States. You know, it's just really confounding. And so I do feel like there's opportunity. We have had record numbers of sales. We've had growth. We're seeing positive signals. We're not afraid of EV. You know, even though you lose the number of gears in the system, you still have to have speed reducers, and you still have to be involved, and there's still bearings. So it'll be a positive ultimately. But the rest of it, you know, I'm almost over. I only have a few more years. But the next 15 years, between demographics, socio-economic circumstances, it's going to take a really strong leader with a vision and some power locally, within the country, and then globally to really kind of make things more quiet, more calm. And so there you go. That's a complicated question. I might have raised a lot of too many things, but that's what's in my head, and that's what our board is talking about. And it's important. We're still global. I'm here. Leadership is presence, right? You have to be someplace. Do we have 55 companies that are members? No. But will we? Yes, we're committed. We're trying to understand it. And I think that's the mindset you have to have. And I think that will prevail over time as things calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was a hard question, but that was a good answer. It's good to speak about reality, and it's good to you shown us one more time why it's important to sit together. It's important to have associations. It's important to communicate, to have a better understanding, because there is always a big gap between what's happening in politics, but what's happening in our industry. So
I might lose my passport now. I'll probably get held up by the government.
We'll give you a nice spot in Turkey, so you can already get retired here, so you can have some nice time. Yeah. No, but thank you for this answer. It's important to sit together, to discuss together, and it's more and more important to do that.
Yeah.
But I want to bounce on the beginning of the question.
Yeah.
So you say the U.S. market, that's a $5 billion market.
Yeah.
So that's a key number for our different members. But you also say that this is a quite open market. You just need to do your homework, and then you can get in. You need to find the right partner. You need to find the right people who are sitting, and that's open. And I think that's the experience that we are facing now. We established ourselves there. So I want to call the other members that are not there already. It's open. You just need to work, push, and then you're there. Yeah. So I have a last question before we move to question. Actually, it's just some more insight from a European perspective. We've been speaking about the carbon tax without giving a too complicated answer, but just if you could give us a short overview. What's that carbon tax? How is it going to happen? What's the main principle?
I think we had to go one step back. When you look to a lot of the daily business of our member companies in Europe are influenced by the decisions which are made by the European Commission. And you show it on one slide. It was this plan to get carbon free, to be sustainable in your company. And honestly speaking, especially for the huge small and mid-sized companies in Europe, it's a big challenge. Why? When they spoke about reducing carbon, means you have to analyze your business processes. It starts in your product, it goes on in your production, it goes on in your organization, and it goes on over the whole value chain in your daily business. Means from the sub-supplier up to the end customer. And that is really a huge program. So unofficially we speak about a regulation tsunami. Okay, with a long-term run, where they say in the first step you have to fulfill that, in the second step that and that. But for the most of our companies, it's a big challenge. Why? You have to restructure your company, you have to define a team who is taking care about that. At the end, it costs money, with a good outcome. And this is money, and the first thing you cannot transfer to your customer. And that means we had to analyze it. We have to work together, not only in our, Drive Technology community, also with our customers, because the whole value chain is influenced. And that is, honestly speaking, a huge topic for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And honestly speaking, we are not at the beginning, but we are in the preliminary phase. And what we had to supply is to supply our members guidelines, how they can fulfill this regulation, how to analyze this regulation, because honestly speaking, it's not easy. And that shows also that our industry is under a real big cost pressure. On the one hand, you have to do these administrative things in your company. On the other hand, we had in Europe the problem of the energy prices. Okay, some countries are a little bit more flexible than other countries, but at the end it's clear that the energy prices will increase. And that has a direct influence on our on your budget in your company. And on the other side, we need, even in this regulation tsunami, clear guidelines from the politicians, because when you decide now for investments in the future, you will look where are the regulations so that I can make a plan for 10, 15, 20 years. And at the moment, that's our feeling. There is no real, how to say, we need a straight plan where everyone knows, okay, these are the steps, and this is the way how we can reach the result for the future. This is a huge challenge, and honestly speaking, I can now start with different regulations. It's an evening filling program, what is coming through. But honestly speaking, we are convinced that we had to do that. The only reason is in which time frame and which are the borders the politicians gave us. Yeah, we need here maybe a wall, here a wall, but how we move in this on this highway, this must be a decision by the companies. We must be technology open. So honestly speaking, the most of our associations, we are always says, when there are decisions in the community, it must be technology open. It makes no sense to forbidden some special technology. You must say, this is the frame where we had to work, and then you as engineers must find the best way for your customers. But honestly speaking, this is not an easy way where we are. And I can tell you, if it's the association here in Turkey, if it's the association in France, in Germany, we have a lot of discussions with our companies. We try to influence the European Commission to give them guidance, what is good for the industry, how we can fulfill their ideas, is the ideas the right way. But honestly speaking, at the moment, I will not say weekly, but monthly, there are coming new regulations, which has sometimes influences, which we cannot really, where we cannot react in a good way. We have to analyze it and find a way for our industry. Yeah? At the moment, a topic which is high ranked is, maybe you hear about it, PFAS. It's the word, I think, in English, Teflon.
Yeah, PFAS is
PFAS, yeah. And the problem is most of our companies are not chemical, they didn't have chemical engineers. And when you ask gearbox manufacturers, they say, it's not a problem, we will ask our supplier, then they have to supply us other gaskets, other oils. But so easy it isn't. They didn't have a solution at the moment. And what we are doing at the moment is we need practical examples from our members to show the influences on our industry, because at the moment there is a consolidation in the EU Commission until autumn, and we try to push them to make as much exemptions for our industry, because honestly speaking, for a lot of solutions, our sub-suppliers didn't have a solution at the moment for this special material, and that is really a key topic. A lot of engineers reading this texts, try to analyze it, what is the influence on our business. It's not easy, but we work on it, and that is also the reason why we are in a network where we discuss how is the situation in France, how is the situation in Finland and Sweden. What did your company say? Is there a solution? Do we find solution for the future? And to make advertising by our members that they had to think in their teams, do we have a problem or do we have not a problem with this special materials in our organization? And this is only one example how the EU Commission influence our daily business in a positive way. But the question is, what is the time frame and how realistic is it for us as industry to fulfill these regulations? Yeah. That's the reason regulation tsunami from EU Commission.
Well, thank you very much for this detailed answer. Yeah. So you deserve it. Yeah. So we spoke about a lot of different subjects. We spoke about trainings. Now we spoke about EU regulation, about the USA. Before we close that, if any one of you have some questions, I say we want to make it interactive. So if you have any kind of question, I see that we have a very nice panel of of people watching us here. I counted almost more than 15 different countries. So if you don't have any, yeah, please.
Maybe I can add something
Yeah,
to,
sure.
to Matt's presentation. How is the situation for the European drive technology situation? Honestly speaking, if you look back maybe 15, 20 years with all these challenges, for the mechanical drive technology, we have an average growth rate in the last 20 years from 3 to 4%, which is not bad because it's a continuously growth rate in drive technology. That is the positive thing. On the other hand, we had at the moment in Europe a lot of challenges, and when we discuss it in the Eurotransport, at the moment I would say the forecast for this year is a more sideward moving part. We had still, I would say, order backs from last year, which was in the beginning of 2023. We can work on this order backs, but the key question is what happened in the second half of 2023. So that is the reason why we gave for Eurotrans a forecast. A zero means a side moving effect. For the next year, I would say the economists are not clear. There's on the one hand the people who say we are in a recession path, the others say maybe we can grow next year. But honestly speaking, at the moment we have no real forecast for 2024. I would say on a positive way, we hope a slightly increase, especially driven by our products in the automation field. On the other hand, it could be also again a zero. We don't hope it, but it's not so easy at the moment to analyze it because the cost pressure in Europe is still very high. But on the other hand, for all these topics which are coming, sustainability, we have also this, I would say, transformation in mobility. A lot of our members have solutions, and this is more or less the positive outlook that we can provide solution for all these topics, which gives me also for the future a good outlook for our industry.
Yeah.
There's maybe such a...
Well, that was a nice conclusion, as we still have some few more seconds. Mr. Dirk Dekker again from VDMA will be here with us for, I think, 1 or 2 more days. He will be on MIB stand or IMAX stand. He will be moving from both. Same thing for Mr. Matt Crosson that flew from the US. He will be here. So take this opportunity to speak, discuss, and exchange with them. He will also be either on MIB or IMAX stand. So you are very welcome to visit us. And I thank you all for your time and attention. And it was a great pleasure for us to be the first conference to this exhibition. So we would like to wish you a very nice and productive exhibition.
Maybe I can say something. We as association guys, we live from our members, and I want to say first of all thank to IMAG that we have a president from Eurotrans, from IMAG company. I see here Mr. Halach, sorry for spelling the name. Yeah. Thank you that you support the idea of Eurotrans, and I know all our members, we are neutral as association guy, but we also can say here on this place, congratulations to your 50th anniversary. And I think in the second family generation to being here and to support us. Thank you, Mr. Halach.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right.